let me record because I know that you weren't able to chat with my class, my Monday, Wednesday class, so I am going to actually record this for them.
Awesome.
Okay.
Terrific.
Yay. So, yes, ASU, this class is called SWU 250, which is stress management tools. So we are talking all things how to manage when life presents unpredictable obstacles, which I did, actually our class did get to see your TED Talk yesterday.
Rock and roll, did you love it or did you love it?
We loved it. No, it was really cool. So I am going to share that link with this class since I got it yesterday. But yeah, so thank you for that. So essentially, we're learning about mindfulness, healthy eating habits, how to reframe our thinking and communication and behavior so that we experience, well, new experiences, less stressful ones, right? Doesn't mean that we're necessarily changing or completely eliminating the stressor or what we're perceiving the stressor to be, but we're learning how to respond differently. So I know this is all up in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And specifically these last 2 weeks, we've been focusing on harmonious relationships. So specifically, how do we handle the people that we can't avoid sometimes, including self. Self is one of those people, and that we have to kind of look at sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we are today.
Okay.
But I would like for you to give us a little bit of context as to who you are. I know that at the end of your emails you have with enthusiasm. So tell us who you are, what does with enthusiasm mean, and how did you get to this work? I'm sure there were some stressors in personal and professional life that led you to this work. So take it away.
With enormous pleasure. First of all, Marisha, it's always a pleasure to see you. You look awesome. You guys look great. I want to ask you a clarifying question before we move forward. Are you learning about stress and stress elimination in order to become practitioners like me, or because you want a better grip on your own mindset?
So you guys, how about, okay, so the first one, practitioners, hands. Yeah.
I can see.
Okay, and for your own personal reasons.
Okay, great.
And then both, how about that? So we're all over the map.
Good. Well, congratulations. Anybody who ever wants to be a practitioner actually does have to understand this for themselves first.
Yes.
You can't teach anybody wholeness. You can't teach anybody wellness when you are sick or when you are suffering. So the most important component is just understand that this is applicable to absolutely anything you want. I'm Keren Eldad. I am a certified coach practitioner. I'm a life coach and an executive coach, and I primarily coach leaders. However, as an International Coaching Federation coach, which is the highest standard for coaching in the world, I'm also a leading suicide counselor with Crisis Text Line. Crisis Text Line is the biggest suicide hotline in the world right now. We're in 15 different countries, including the UK. And they're free as volunteers. You just have to text 741-741 and we'll always be there for you. And the way I arrived at this work was actually by the collapse and crash of my own life. You see, I did everything right, always, like you. I went to great schools. I married a tall man with no chest hair, which everybody in that room knows is a gold standard for life. I was popular, like Ferris Bueller popular. And I know that you guys don't pick up that reference because you're way too young, but believe me, that means super duper popular. And I looked amazing on Instagram, but my life was actually not as awesome as it looked. And I went through a very tenuous divorce, a very big collapse of my personal work, because after many years, the publishing industry started to collapse. You guys keep hearing probably about truck drivers being the next elimination and coal miners losing their jobs. Well, it turns out that publishing corporates are losing their jobs too. And so I found myself having to reinvent my entire life and manage an enormous deal of stress. And this is when I turned inward and solved all my problems. And when I did that, I wanted to solve everybody else's too. And that's why I do what I do. It's a privilege to talk to you about these things. We're going to hit every single point that Marisha tackled, and I'm ready when you are. Sound good? Yes. Good.
Okay, so starting with enthusiasm, what does that mean specifically?
With enthusiasm means living a fully charged life. Most of the people who come to coaching, or actually who find themselves at the suicide hotline, describe feeling stuck. They talk about being stunted in their life, about waking up exhausted or with no eagerness. And we want to find that vigor in your life. For me, enthusiasm is the highest emotional rung on the emotional scale. I'm not saying that you need to make enormous jumps all the way there, but I am saying that for most people, you want to live life fully charged.
Yep.
And that's why it's the name of my brand.
Cool. We talked about the emotional scale of this, so very cool that you're bringing that up. Okay, so neutral or above, essentially, wanting people to kind of climb that ladder. And you talked a little bit about some of the things that landed you in the work that you're doing now. Break that down a little bit I know that there's some people who've gone into and talked about their experience with therapy or these other, sort of modalities. What is a coach, or at least who is Coach Keren, and how do you specifically help people?
Awesome. First, I want to talk to anybody out there who wants to do this for a living and would like to practice. There is an enormous opportunity out there for all of us who wish to do this. The great historian Yuval Noah Harari put it best when he said that the epidemic of the 18th century was typhoid fever. The epidemic of the 20th century was cancer. And the epidemic of the 21st century is and will be mental illness, and in particular, isolation and loneliness. We are becoming very, very disconnected from ourselves. To help combat that, a lot of schools of thought are rising. The most popular in the 20th century were psychotherapy and cognitive behavioral therapy, also known as Freudian therapy and Jungian therapy. Is everybody familiar with Carl Jung and Sigmund Freud? Have you heard of them? You should look them up. They were adorable people. And traditional psychotherapy is very backward looking. They're looking back at trauma, at the origin of trauma, at the origin of how you formed your thoughts. Behavioral therapy looks at what you are doing and why you are doing it so that they can modify the emotion that you have around your habits and then correct them. And coaching is a form of behavioral therapy, except just like everything else in the 21st century, it's a little bit more fast-paced, intense, forward-looking, and finite, meaning we don't need you to see us forever. Usually when someone works with me as a coach, they see me for a series of a defined period of time, 3 months, 6 months, and we're designing our work together to get them from where they are right now to their goal. Therapy is not like that. Therapy is, I'm in pain and I don't know why. And so you begin an exploration process. The principal difference, therefore, between therapy or traditional psychotherapy and coaching is that we don't look backwards, but there are two additional differences. The second difference is that coaching comes with homework, but not the bad kind that you don't like. Fun homework. Reading about you. Videos about you. And what is more interesting than you? And the last difference I already brought up, and that is that coaching is finite, meaning we don't just want to hang out forever with absolutely no point. Just keep paying me. We are trying to get you to a goal, and when that time is done, we say goodbye. And most of my clients are, of course, very, very sad about that.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Awesome. Okay, so I like to make sure that our class is very practical. So yes, they have reading required, texts that they, go through each week. But then our class, I really want to make that as practical as possible. Things that they can do, see, feel, touch right here, right now.
Yeah.
And to your point, so that they're able to explore, how does it work for me?
Yeah.
Because different things work for different people. because we're bringing our own unique experiences, backgrounds, etc. to these, we're intermingling these approaches with all of these different things that we've experienced. So I would like for you to share 3 either mindset shifts or other approaches that are most common that you use, your philosophies, your approaches. And then we'll move into another segment called Ask Coach Keren, where we're going to make these things actually applicable.
Cool. Awesome. So I want to first resonate with you. I agree with you completely. We are all very different. And while Marisha is absolutely fascinating, and so am I, I'm sure everyone in the room agrees, our learned, wise words are meaningless unless you get out there and try it for yourself and see that this works. When I started working with a coach, she had fantastic ideas and they all sounded really good and she told really good stories and everything was awesome. But until I went out there and tried something new and saw that it worked, it would not stick with me. And this is the main work. This is the work that's involved in transforming your life. To that end, I am very happy to give you the 3 mindset shifts that have profoundly impacted my life, the paradigms by which I live, but I ask you to really apply this to your life in general. And that only you can do, because only you out there, every single one of you knows what's going on in your life and what you can use and what you don't need to use. Does that make sense? All right, the first paradigm shift is something that you've already heard in my TED Talk, which I'm sure everyone agrees was the best TED Talk of all time.
Wait, it wasn't this group that heard the TED Talk. It was
what?
Yesterday.
I am leaving right now. You are dead to me. No. The first and most profound thing you will ever hear in your entire life is that you don't know what you don't know. Everybody in the world believes they know. You guys are young, so you especially think that you know everything. Well, the truth is you don't know. Most of us don't know. We look at things and think that we know what's going on when we are only seeing a paltry sliver of reality. Let me tell you a quick story. Marisha, do we have time for a quick and awesome story?
Of course.
So I take this class called Soul Cycle. Have you guys ever heard of it?
Yes.
Soul Cycle is a spin class for really good-looking people. It was in the Amy Schumer movie. It's like really, really fun. And I clear my Saturday schedule just to go to this class. So I was walking to my Soul Cycle class. I was feeling all pumped. I was wearing my Soul Cycle clothes like I'm in some kind of cult. I was walking through the door. I love everything about it. I love when I walk through the door and I hear the techno music and I smell the grapefruit candle and I see all the other good-looking people, and I adjust my own bike, which makes me feel super athletic, which is cool because I'm Jewish. I'm not athletic at all. Anyway, I get on the bike and here I am about to have my moment of zen when the worst thing happened. Some guy turned around and talked to me. He says, and not like Jake Gyllenhaal, okay? Some fat old guy. And he says, "Hey, I'm Scott." And I was like, I'm a New Yorker, guys. You don't talk to me unless I'm on fire. So I turned around and then I remembered I'm an enlightened person, right? Like I'm Gandhi. I need to be Gandhi-esque. So I turned around and I said, "All right, hi, I'm Keren." And I turned back to my bike. I'm thinking, I'll never hear this guy's words again. That'll be the end of it. But no, Scott came to play. He didn't stop talking. "Do you come to this class a lot? Do you like this class? Aren't you excited about this class?" And I'm like, "What are you? Do you have Tourette's or something?" Anyway, I jump on the bike and do my best to resting bitch face ignore him. And then we start riding and the music goes up and everybody's crazy and having fun and pumping it up. And Scott becomes relentless. "I love Soul Cycle. This is amazing." And he keeps yelling at our instructor, "Go, Caroline." So I'm thinking, this guy's a nut job and he's going to murder all of us. But just at the point where I was about to break and go outside and demand my class money back, I decided to stay put because, guys, again, I'm basically a Jewish Gandhi. I needed to learn a lesson here. So I waited till the end of the class. And when the end of the class came and the music went down and the lights came back up, I got the surprise of my life. The instructor turns to us and she says, guys, I want to apologize for that guy in the front. That's my dad. A few months ago, I had back surgery. Nobody ever thought I would get back on a bike, let alone so soon. And he's just really excited. I still tell that story and get emotional because it's such a wonderful metaphor. And it taught me such a valuable lesson. You are never seeing the full picture in any situation. And when you believe that you are seeing the full picture, you are cheating yourself of the opportunity to learn something new. So the next time you find yourself thinking, I know this already, even while you're listening to my wise words or the wise words of your teacher, Marisha, change that to a powerful question. What can I still learn here? What can I still learn here? Does that make sense? Yes or yes? Very good. Are you ready for the second paradigm shift, or is everybody still so emotionally invested in my story that they need a moment to calm down? The second paradigm shift I have to offer you is can't is not a real thing. In all of life, you will make decisions about what you really want to do. And the second you make a great decision about what you really want to do, a voice is going to start talking to you. It's either in your head or your mother. And it's going to tell you the 20 reasons why you can't have what you really want. And I'm here to tell you that can't is not a real thing. I want you to learn how to distinguish between that 4-letter word and another 4-letter word, won't. You see, can't is subjective. If I go on a diet, I probably won't be as thin as Giselle. But I can still get a lot thinner. So the truth is, I won't go to the gym and I won't go on a diet and I won't stick with this. You feel the difference? I can always wake up in the morning and go to the gym. I always just come up with the excuses. Like, for example, it's dark outside, or it's cold, or I'm already good looking enough. But the truth is, if I really probe it, is not that I can't go to the gym, it's that I won't go to the gym. As you guys get older, you will want to start companies. You will want to marry fabulous people who look out of your league. You'll want to climb Everest. You'll want to do amazing things. And there will be a lot of voices in your head that say, you can't. And here are the 10 very logical reasons why you can't. And I want you to remember what Coach Keren taught you. Can't is just a frame of mind. Isn't it true that every single one of you out there has done something? You made a decision at one point in your life that you really wanted to go for something really, really big, and you had to overcome some circumstances and you still managed to do it? I do not see any shaking or nodding heads. So no one in this room has ever done anything exceptional. Congratulations, you're all dead. I remember it, when I was a kid, which obviously was yesterday, I wanted to go to this really, really fancy pants school. And my parents were like, congratulations, good luck with that. So I had to figure out how to pay for the fancy pants school. I didn't have a job. I was a kid. I made it work. I found 2 scholarships. I worked through college and I emerged not only with a phenomenal diploma, that by the way is today worth nothing. I'm just encouraging you. But also with no debt. With no debt. So I want you to understand that that is another phenomenal and outrageously cool paradigm. Does that make sense? Good. And the third thing that I'd like to offer you, and there are many more, but the third thing I'd like to offer you is Stress is not external, ever. Your generation uses a word that I have never heard before until I went on the suicide hotline. Triggers. You're constantly talking about things that trigger you. Raise your hand if you use the word "that's triggering me." It's okay, be honest. I'm not judging you. I'm totally judging you, but I'm not judging you. When you say this is triggering me, you are assigning blame for an external factor in contributing to your stress. And though for many years, since the 1920s, we believed that stress was in fact caused by external factors, like you were moving or someone was getting divorced or you were caused distress because of an external circumstance, that is never the case. Stress is actually created and has been proven to only be created through multiple decades of research by the way you are processing what's happening. So I can sit here and say to you, you're fat, and you can say that's triggering and that's annoying and that's anything. But if you don't believe that you're fat, and if you understand that I'm just a strange person that you've never met, and my opinion doesn't matter too much, you will not digest this as triggering. Does that make sense? I'll give you a great example. It's my favorite example. Marisha knows this one because I've talked to her about this before. Let's imagine that you went on a date with the hottest person you've ever met. Can you all imagine that? Imagine it right now. You and Kate Upton are on a date. For the ladies, who's hot right now? Please don't say Justin Bieber.
Yeah, I don't know. They're deliberating.
Wow, there's that much hotness going around. I don't know what to think about it. It's okay. So imagine you went on a date with this guy or gal, and it's been a fantastic date, and you didn't stop talking, and it was just flowy and amazing. And then afterwards, you had this sexy kiss goodnight, and you went back to sleep. And then you didn't hear from them for 3 days. What happens in the 3 days? You have some stressful thoughts, yes or yes? Like, maybe I stumbled into some bad lighting. Like, oh my God, I said the wrong thing. Like, I cannot believe I wore that. I shouldn't have worn that. These thoughts will usually then turn to, he or she are a jackass for not calling me. I can't believe they're playing these games. I did something wrong. They don't like me, and so on and so forth. The thoughts, however, have absolutely nothing to do with the other person or with what's happening. I understand that it's very reasonable to say, oh my God, it's been 3 days. But that other person is not cruel. You don't know. They could have died in a ditch. They could have been detained. They could have had a problem in their family. They could think it's perfectly reasonable to not call somebody for 3 days. Do you understand what I'm saying? So there's always a different answer. I learned this when one of my clients told me that a guy that she really liked and had phenomenal rapport with didn't call for a few days. And then when she bumped into him at a party, she said, because she was so, didn't want to show that she was hurt, she said, well, I already met somebody else, but thank you so much for, being at this party. Well, when they met again, about a year later, she confessed to him that she had only made up that other boyfriend. And the truth is she was really hurt that he hadn't called her in so many days. And he said, wow, I'm really sad that you did that, because the truth was I was only taking that extra time to get back to you because I had a girlfriend at the time and I wanted to go home, resolve that, finish that relationship, and then get back to you on a clean slate. But I guess you didn't have that time to give me. Stress is always an inside game. And this last point matters so much, because if you can master your emotional ability to deal, your emotional ability to question things as they're coming to you and ask, what can I still learn here? Is there an opportunity? Is there another way of looking at this? And can I find a way to relax? You will always come out on top. I hope that was helpful to you. That's what I got for you, Marisha.
Yes. All right, so before going into the next segment, I want people who might have questions or follow-ups related to anything that was just shared. Any questions, thoughts, feedback?
What questions do you have for the world-class coach, kids? I know that it's very hard to ask questions, but all of you have something going on. And I happen to know that this is the decade of mental wellness. So ask away. I love when they start looking at each other.
I know.
Maybe you have a question. Maybe you have a question. Yes.
Mine's not really related to, I guess, concepts, more like action work. How do you get involved in, like, helping out in that area, like the mental health area? Do you have like any advice for like getting involved in this sort of like volunteer things to try and make a difference in small measures, I guess?
I really appreciate your question, and I especially appreciate your desire to help and your desire to uplift others. It's a wonderful thing to do. In fact, I think one of the best things we can all do for our own mental health is serve others and volunteer and help. It gets you out of your own head. It teaches you perspective and humility, and there is nothing nicer than giving. If you'd ever like to volunteer with Crisis Text Line, all you have to do is go on crisistextline.org and apply to volunteer. They will then train you for 10 weeks. But the truth is, volunteer.org can find you multiple ways to get involved. We work with dozens of organizations like RAIN for victims of sexual assault, like To Write Love on Her Arms for people who are suffering from control issues like cutting. There are so many opportunities to reach out and touch somebody today, not physically, but emotionally. And all you got to do is look for those opportunities. I hope the Crisis Text Line winks your ear. We are 5,000 strong right now in the United States. And I'm sure that Marisha will be able to either remind me to send you guys that link or to send you that link. But the most important thing, what's your name?
Molly?
Molly?
Yeah.
The most important thing, Molly, is to speak up and look for opportunities. You can help anybody any day. In my gratitude journal every day I write, who did I help today? And you know, it's amazing to me, Molly. There is always somebody who could use a shoulder to cry on, a connection, a hug. How are you doing today? And just by doing that, you're already making big change. Helpful? Awesome. What other questions do you have?
Just on that point, before taking the next question, I think, you know, the space that I try to create in class is a space where it's not just me depositing information, right? But them even sharing and interacting is also helpful. So to your point of just being you in your day-to-day is a way to serve, essentially.
Absolutely. I think everybody wants to change the world, right? Like everybody wants to feel significant and see that they're making an impact. But I promise you, if you are uplifting in your own demeanor, just help one soul, you are changing the world.
Awesome. Other questions? Yeah.
So I know we touched on how. Can you hear me?
There we go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I know we touched on like how stress is not like external and how it's like your perception to the external factors that are in our lives. How do you? I know we talk a lot about meditation in class, different ways that we can address that stress or deal with our processing of those external factors. But like, how do you deal with your own process?
Thank you for asking. First of all, what a wonderful question. The question of our times. And what a wonderful voice you have. So I actually use two processes. The first one is meditation. I'm so sorry. I'm extraordinarily popular today. So sorry for the dinging. And I swear I quit messages. Anyway, the first process is meditation. And I believe that if you don't meditate for 15 minutes every day, you are doing something terribly wrong with your life. It's worse than not brushing your teeth. And by the time you're my age, you're really going to appreciate brushing your teeth. Meditation gives you perspective. When you are able to focus for 15 minutes just on breathing, just on following guided meditation, on doing transcendental, whatever form of meditation you prefer, if you can do that for 15 minutes, you can quiet your thoughts. And when you can quiet your thoughts, you learn something very pivotal. And that is, are you ready for this? This is really big. The thoughts are not thinking you. You are thinking the thoughts. When people say, I can't, I'm in a spiral and it's all going terribly wrong. You are the one who is thinking it's all going terribly wrong. And that moment of pause, that ability to pause with meditation gives you control back of your own mind. The second thing that I use is when I do feel stress anyway, because life happens, and even when you meditate, bad things happen and they still throw you off kilter. For example, when you do listen to my TED Talk, you'll hear me speak about the fact that my mother was recently diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. That's never an easy thing. So in a moment like that, I want you to pause. Hit pause for 17 seconds. Why? Because I invented it. And in those 17 seconds, talk to yourself. Say, it's okay. Nothing has to happen right this second. Is there any other way I can see this? And what can I do to relax right now? And if you can do that, if you can inject that tiny little pause whenever somebody breaks up with you, or a friend hasn't returned your text for 5 minutes, or nobody liked your Instagram post, you will for sure start to feel better and better and better and learn to really get a handle on the stress. And you will start being able to tell the difference between real reality and perceived reality. The emotions, the thoughts, they are just perceived reality. They are not reality. Yes or yes?
Yeah.
Awesome. Was that helpful? Did that answer your question?
It did. Thank you.
Pause for 17 seconds. Rock and roll.
Yes. So we had a couple of different approaches, meditation or different mindfulness practices, breathing practices. One of their texts talks about, we have the 4-step MAC guide that they use. I've shared approaches from my own book, etc. So there's tons of different things that they have access to. And I kind of give the analogy that it's like a gift basket. You get to kind of pick and choose what works for you from that gift basket. But you've also now added 3 new perspectives, mindset shifts, approaches, essentially, that can be useful. So what I would like to do is present some of the specific challenges that have been brought up, relationship challenges, and from various dynamics, not just romantic, but different relationship challenges. And then either the approaches that you've already shared or other perspectives or philosophies that you have that can tackle some of these specific challenges. Cool?
Rock and roll.
All right. So, what do we got?
Relationships. Isn't it terrible that we all have to live with so many other people? Why can't they just all agree with us?
Okay. So we'll start with family. I go home on the weekends about twice a month. When I am home, I watch my parents when they come home from work on Friday nights. They're stressed and uptight, and I wish I could tell them to calm down, but in a polite way. I want to tell them that work isn't everything, and they need to slow life down to enjoy it. Even though I am stressed with schoolwork and my own personal life, I still take time to calm down. How do I tell my parents that they shouldn't be so uptight? So what did you hear in that? And then how would you handle that?
That's a wonderful question. And that's a very common question for people who are married, by the way. I'm calm. Why can't he be calm? Why can't people just chill out? Have you ever told somebody to calm down? Did they calm down as a result? No. The only way that you can ever influence every other person on the planet is when you get into, the t-shirt says it all, ladies and gentlemen, alignment. You got to get into alignment. What does alignment mean? Alignment means good mood. Alignment means peace. If you don't know your own peace, you will not be able to help anybody else or influence anybody else. And when you are in alignment, when you are in a good mood, you are not sweating the small stuff, first of all, you notice it a lot less when other people are freaking out, but you also really don't feel the need to help them so much. I understand that mom and dad have a way of seeing life, but aren't mom and dad superstars who have always managed to somehow keep themselves alive and fed? And if they have, isn't it true that they can probably figure out life at their own pace and that it's not your job to fix them? And if you really are doing okay and you chill out after school and everything else, isn't it completely reasonable for you to leave them alone and mind your own happiness? We take ourselves completely out of alignment when we stress out about other people being stressed out. You feel me? It's none of your business. If I absorbed the panic, the hurt, the isolation, then the depression that I saw on the suicide hotline, I couldn't breathe. I wouldn't be able to function. But I can just stay at the edge of the problem and stay happy and stay healthy and stay well. And when I am happy and healthy and well, I can help somebody else meet me there. Does that make sense? Now, I'm not asking you to go home, wonderful question asker, and be like, in your face, mom and dad, I'm having a great time in my head. I would just say, it's okay. I understand that you feel that way. Is there anything I can do to help you out? You want a soda or something? And if they say no, okay, well, if you need me, I'm going to be watching TV. All the best. Mind your own alignment, and everybody else will follow. I know it's hard to do. We all want to fix everybody else. We want them to agree with us. And we disguise it as, I just want them to be happy. And then we become obnoxious parents who just want our kids to be happy. Your job is not to guide anyone. Your job is to let people live their life and be happy.
And another way of saying that is experience is the best teacher.
Yeah.
So if you all are experiencing this bliss that was described by this person, right? If you exist on the top of the emotional scale and they're seeing you every 2 weeks when you go home or hear about your life when you're talking to them on the phone, they're going to start to wonder, well, what is this person doing?
Yeah, that's very true. But you know, Marisha, even if they don't, the nicest thing that happens to you as you do move up the emotional scale, and this person is not yet there, you will be, don't worry, but you're not that yet there, is you stop noticing.
Yep.
I'll give you a great story. My sister and I, we were in Europe last year because we're very cool people. And when we came back, we were going through immigrations at JFK, the airport here in New York. Now, I have a great time. I'm on the line. I see a nice lady with a bunch of kids. I say, ma'am, you've got a bunch of kids. You want to be in front of me? She sees this. Everybody on the line tells me how nice I am. When I float through immigrations, the officer says, wow, you look wonderful for a person who's just been on a plane for 8 hours. And I say, thank you, officer. And then he says, welcome home, Miss Eldad. And I sail through to the other side. And then I wait for half an hour because my sister's nowhere near me. And I go, where the hell is this kid? She finally makes it through immigrations, like, I kid you not, like 30 minutes later. And I said, what happened? And she goes, didn't you see what happened back there? I was standing behind the yellow line. And that mean officer said, do not step on the yellow line. So I said, what is this, Nazi Germany? And so I stepped over the yellow line. And then she put me in the back of the line. And then she yelled at me and Now listen, guys, here's the point of the story. I didn't even notice. I had no idea this was happening, not 3 feet away from me. I was having a great time. I'm high-fiving people. I'm accepting compliments. When you are in the zone, when you are in alignment, you really do mind your own business, but mostly because it's pretty hard to take a happy person out of happy. Mind you're happy. I promise you, everybody else will meet you too.
Agreed. Questions as it relates to this? Thoughts, follow-up? Cool. Okay.
Now, I don't want you to beat yourself up for not being happy, especially if you suffer from real depression. It's very important to make a distinction between chemical imbalance and general happiness. And I also think it's very important to point out the most important aspect of the emotional scale. You can't make enormous leaps. If you are in depressed or victim or shame, God forbid, it's going to be a really long stretch to enthusiasm. Doesn't mean that's impossible. But if I were you, I would aim for soothed, relaxed, calm, and then later, satisfied, hopeful, joyful. Just don't beat yourself up for where you are.
Right. Yep. And we actually went through an exercise where last week we're working on where are you now? I know that we're talking about the top and what happens here, how you perceive your experiences, but start with the lighter things that you can deal with now. Because if you try to tackle those big, deep, hard, challenging, traumatic experiences, it's going to be a little bit more frustrating, and then you're not going to see the shift.
Exactly. And let's be honest, guys, everybody has bad days. Not every day is a good hair day. And we all have to learn how to deal with that by not beating ourselves up and making it worse, which, is the most important problem in society today. I believe that the reason most of us are so miserable is because we're stuck in perfectionism, because everything you see on Instagram is complete nonsense, and you're believing it, and you're constantly beating yourself up for not being bouncy and on a yacht right now. Well, other than the Kardashians, no one is.
Yeah. And they're doing it for production, so it's all good. All right. So I'm going to go to a little bit more of a sensitive subject, but I know that we can handle it. We've all been kind of prepared energetically for this. So, all right. How can I let go of a negative experience relationship so that it doesn't affect other relationships? When I was young, my uncle raped me for years. Now I can't be around males without feeling endangered. I'm not sure that I'll ever be able to have sex or get married.
That is a very difficult question. The first thing I would tell this wonderful person is that you are supported beyond anything you can understand. You did nothing wrong. And your situation is delicate and worthy of finding peace. You deserve to find peace. There are so many people who will help you. And I recommend with all my heart that you reach out to organizations who will help you for free, like RAINN, RAINN, and to therapists. Because trauma is a delicate matter and it just takes time. That's all. It doesn't mean that it's impossible, but it does take time. Nothing can be resolved in 5 minutes. The second thing I can say is that, and this is going to be a little hard to hear, but stick with me because it'll make a little sense. I work with rape victims all the time. And the most important thing I can say is you have to find a way through therapy and through the process to let go of blame and resentment and forgive. Not the person who did this to you, but yourself. You have to let it go, and you have to find meaning in it. I don't mean to find alignment with what happened with you. I mean find a better purpose or a higher purpose through this. For example, I was recently speaking with a woman who had been raped, and I said, before this happened to you, did you ever imagine yourself helping other people, or did you like helping people? She said, yes, I'm the most helpful person in my family. If anybody ever, for example, she told me, if anybody ever had a birthday, I love making birthday cakes. I said, that's great. Do you think you could help other women by telling them that you survived this and you came out the other side and you became more powerful and you lived a phenomenal life? And that really resonated with her. Today, she's one of the biggest advocates that I know for recovering from sexual abuse. I'm not asking you to step into the forefront and help other women, but if you have had this experience, my God, do you have a voice? And you can help at least one other person to not feel alone. And when you can do that, you will rise back into your power. And slowly and surely, you will start to function as a full person again. There are so many wonderful men out there that are kind and generous and loving and as appalled as I and Marisha are at what happened to you. And once you've figured out a way to help yourself and maybe even to find a purpose through which you can serve others, it's my promise to you, you will come through this and you'll have everything you want and you deserve peace. Helpful? Good.
As I have gotten older, I have become aware of how damaging politics can be to a relationship between people. Why do people let politics get in the way of having harmonious relationships with others? Why can't people just set aside their differences? Are people really that stubborn and unwilling to accept that it is okay if someone disagrees with them?
That's a harder question than the second one. We are living in unbelievably divided times.
Right.
We don't think so just in the United States, where, by the way, election 2016 and Donald Trump are actual suicide categories. It has set us into an emotional state of unease. But also, I'm from Israel, and in Israel we are equally divided. Or look at what's happening in England right now with Brexit. 50% of the country hates the other 50%. The sentiment is noble and correct. Our only hope is to get along. Our only hope is to speak to the other side and to have a thoughtful disagreement. It's completely okay to hold different opinions. We have to learn how to speak with each other without wanting the other side to die or thinking that the other side is stupid or condemning the other side. And I always say this to people because I coach people who have vastly different political opinions from mine, that they are not the problem. The political process or the political culprits are the ones to which you want to direct your attention. But don't take it out on voters. They have a right to their opinion. And you will never be able to really affect change without listening to them and collaborating with them. Now, this is easier said than done. So my recommendation is this. The first is try to find a way to have a thoughtful disagreement if you are indeed passionate about politics and very interested in them. The second, if you're not really interested in politics, and you should totally be involved in politics. If you are not that involved in politics, try to avoid the subject as much as you can. Why would you have a conversation about this when you can talk about 10 other things, right? For example, you can tell everyone you know about the really, really cool coach you met today. You could talk about puppies. You could talk about Madonna or whatever's cool right now. We don't have to talk about politics. And the third is to do your best to, and this is the most important thing I can teach you about arguing or disagreeing with people. Do not make them the problem. Make the problem the problem. For example, when you're fighting with your partner, when you're fighting with your spouse, when you're fighting with someone very, very close to you, always remember it's not you against them. It's you and them against the problem. That was very big what I just said. Can everybody please nod to acknowledge that they heard me? Yeah. Yes. Yes. Not you against them. Don't attack the other person. Attack the politics, attack the idea. Have a great time with that. Don't challenge another person for their personal opinion. They have every right to that opinion, and we live in a democracy. Is that helpful? I also want to say that, again, if it's really disturbing to you, and it's disturbing to me, I can't watch the news anymore. Really minimize this. You deserve to live happy, and you deserve to live free. You know, back when I was growing up in the 90s, you've heard of the 90s, back in the last century, we didn't have cell phones. I know. This is an amazing world to imagine. I would wake up in the morning with no phone, and then I would sit at a breakfast table and eat and talk to other people. Yes. This is not, I'm not making it up. It's a true story. If you can try to do that for yourself and not wake up with 70 alerts and 100 things on Instagram, and go to the freaking bathroom first and brush your teeth and take a deep breath and eat something, you're going to start living a different life, and you're going to stop responding to the great noise around us all the time. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I actually had similar questions to this. It's less, I think, heavy. So I'll just read this one, but there are a couple of things that I want to address as it relates to this one, because we talked about this in yesterday's class also. For months, maybe even a year or so now, I have had the urge to move out, or at least obtain the freedom and responsibility of being my own person, as most 18-year-olds do. What their goal in raising me has been the building blocks of who I am. However, who they want me to be, I'm assuming parents, is not who I want to be, therefore creating an issue between myself and my parents. I try explaining what and why I want to do certain things, but they're stuck and stubborn on what they have set for me, along with my other siblings. How do I pass along my own personal goals onto them, allowing them to finally understand? Now, I'll add a couple of things. So there's this specific question, and then I also have a lot of students who feel like the subjects that they're studying are subjects that their parents said, this is what's going to make you money, or this is what we do in our culture or our family. So really kind of, I think, dissecting this question from more of a, how do I choose to be my own person? And kind of get out from under the expectations of family perspective or decisions.
You know, Marisha, you lied to me. You said this is going to be a lighter question. This is the biggest question of all. How do I discover who I really am and move as authentically as possible through this world when there are so many freaking expectations? No matter where you are in society today, there are a lot of expectations. And back in the day when Marisha and I were kids, the expectations were those of our parents, those of our teachers, those of our communities. But today, you have to live up to the expectations of Instagram. People you've never freaking met are telling you how to live, how to be, what a good life is, what you can and cannot do with your life, what is acceptable, what is not acceptable, what to rebel against, what is cool, what is trendy. And I'm here to say that your generation is going to save all of us. Your job is to find real freedom and to find your authentic voice. You are going to have to find a balance between doing that and not annoying your parents, dear asker. But for the rest of you, let's answer in a general way that you can really feel and hear and start to implement in your own life. There is an enormous difference between self-esteem and self-love. Now, I know that what I'm about to say sounds like it's disconnected from what we're talking about, but just follow me here. You're going to understand where I'm going with this in 2 seconds. Self-esteem is what we develop to have confidence, right? To appear confident. Everybody tells you that self-esteem is good, right? How many people have heard self-esteem is very important? Great. They were lying to you. Drop that. Self-esteem depends on 2 things. Your achievements, how you look, what you're doing, what you've gotten, what you've gained, and 2, how that ranks against the rest of your society. Are you fitting in? Are you staying in line? Do people accept you? In stark contrast, self-love is none of those things. It's self-forgiveness, it's understanding yourself, it's liking yourself, it's understanding that you have your own path, that nobody's perfect and you can live around here. Here's what's wonky about self-esteem or the expectations of your parents. You cannot make anybody happy all the time. There will be a time when you gain 5 pounds. I realize that when you're 18, you think that that's never going to happen, but it will. There are times when you're going to disappoint a friend. There are times when you will fail a test. And in those moments, self-esteem will abandon you. So you can't rely on it. And it's the same thing with parents' expectations. They're very kind and they're very well-meaning, but you have to start to learn that they're friendly, lovable buzzkills. And no one who ever did anything great with their life did so giving a tiny rat's derriere about what other people were demanding of them. You must find your own voice. And in order to find your own voice, you have to try things. You have to allow yourself to have your path. You have to accept your imperfection. You have to forgive yourself. And you have to speak to yourself as nicely as possible while all of that noise is happening around you. So to the person who's dealing with their parents, look, just let it go. Your parents are your parents. They're nice people. They don't mean you any harm. And try to figure out a place to show them that you're happy and to show them that you're well and to find that balance within your relationship. But in parallel, go out and discover who you really are. You don't even have to do that with leaving the house. Just do that by practicing all of this that we're teaching here. Take applicable tools like read You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero and other books like that. Attend classes like Marisha's. Talk to your friends, explore things, take side jobs, volunteer, find out who you are. You can do that without pissing off your parents. And it's my promise to you that the more you do it, the more you will become the person you are telling people that you are. And when you become that person, you won't need to tell them anymore, and you won't have any more conflict. Does that make sense? You know, when I became a coach, my parents, God bless them, wonderful people, thought that I was going to die of starvation, that 97% of businesses failed, that I was very old and not married, and shouldn't I really take care of that first? And that all of the odds were against me, and they didn't even know what coaching was. So you're not going to make any money, and you're going to fail, and this is terrible, and you already have a career, and why can't you do something normal? I had to do it anyway. If you never try, you'll never know. And if you don't believe in yourself, who will? They don't mean any harm. My mother is a nice lady, but she's not living my life. Make sense?
Awesome. All right. So we're running out of time here. So just one last wrap-up thought, something that sets them off and where they can live life happily ever after.
I want to tell you the most important thing that I tell absolutely every one of my clients and every one of my callers and every young person that I have the privilege of speaking with at one of my conferences or events, and it's this. I know that sometimes it feels like you're not catching up. I know that sometimes it feels like there's not enough time, but there is so much time. You have no idea how much time there is ahead of you, how young you are, how much possibility you have, and you are doing much, much better than you think. My advice is this. Number one, be easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up for anything, ever. It makes no sense. It is useless and senseless and will only set you off your course. And number two, don't let anybody ever tell you at any juncture, even when you're very, very old like me, that you cannot be and do and have everything you want, because you absolutely can. And anything that you want, someone else out there has done. Find that other person. Look at them. Use them as an example. and follow your desires, because they are your desires for a reason, and you should honor them and really follow them and do everything that you can with this lifetime, because it's the best thing you can do. I hope this was helpful. Did everybody enjoy today?
Yes.
Wonderful. I really appreciated it. If anybody is ever in a situation where you'd like to speak to someone, all you'd have to do is text 741-741 for crisis text line. I'm on KerenEldad.com. There are thousands of videos and materials that you can get for free, and you can always use a refresher. I want you to all watch my TED Talk immediately. And I really, really appreciate this time with you. This was really fun. These were very thoughtful, exciting questions. Thank you.
Awesome. And now,
Thank you. Thank you.
all right, Keren, thank you so much again for your time. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll get you this recording as well, so you can have it as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Professor. Have an amazing day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Goodbye.